Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. LaShawn Ashton here, and it's Wednesday and you're halfway through the week and almost the weekend. So let's talk about historical fiction. Do you guys remember what we talked about? How do we know it's historical fiction? Tell me. Good. It needs to have taken place in the past. They usually have some type of historical figure in them. And then we're looking at who, what, and where. Because when we talked about Monday, sometimes you're reading something and you get through a page or two and you're not sure what you read. So when you think about these who, what, where, we know we can remind ourselves of what's happening. And that way we're not forgetting what we're reading. Everybody does it. It's okay. So today we're going to be looking at the story Lydia's Journey. Now, after you've read it, I want you to ask yourself, is it historical fiction? Who's in it? What's happening? Where did it take place? Are there any historical figures in it? And how do we know what happened in the past? So, somebody raise your hand and tell me, how do you know what happened in the past? You right there. Tell me what you think. Good. It says in the text that it happened in 1777. So we know it happened in the past. It happened a long time ago. What else do we know? Somebody tell me. Who's in it? Good. There's a lady named Lydia, and she's a Quaker. And it happened where? Perfect. It happened in Philadelphia. You guys are so smart. You guys don't need me. You know what you're doing. Are there any other people in it? Are there any historical figures? Was there one that we all know about? He's on money. Yes, it is, say, George Washington. So it does say George Washington. Is he directly in the story, or is his name just mentioned? Good. He is not directly in the story. His name is just mentioned. And it talks about what other person or people? It talks about red coats, and those were British soldiers because they wore red coats and they got deemed red coats. So they were the British soldiers. They were in Philadelphia trying to take over Philadelphia at the time. So what is happening? Oh, that's a good one. So what's happening is this red coat is approaching Lydia at her home and telling her she has to give up her home and move out so that it can house British soldiers. But Lydia is not happy with this, and she is able to reach an agreement that says that they can stay in their house, but they just have to give up one room for British soldiers to have meetings. Then what happens? Good. Then all of a sudden, all these British soldiers, higher British soldiers, come to her house and tell her that her whole family has to be in bed by 8 p.m. because they're holding this big secret meeting. But what does Lydia think? Yeah, she wasn't down with that. So she actually hid in a closet that was on the other side of that room so she could hear. And what did she hear? What were the British soldiers talking about? Yes, perfect. They were talking about how they were going to launch a surprise attack on Washington's army. So is that something Lydia was for or against? Good, it was something she was against because she was a Quaker living in Philadelphia. This is her country. This is her area. She does not want that to happen because the redcoats are on the opposite side of what she's on. But she's doing what she's told because they've invaded. So then what happens? Good. She tells her family that she is going to a mill to get flour. But was she really going to a mill to get flour? No. What was she doing? Tell me. She was actually trying to get the word to Washington's army. And she hiked and hiked and hiked and came across an American soldier and told her the plan. And they went back and told Washington's army, and the whole thing was foiled. And that was one of the words in the text. What do you think it means the whole attack was foiled? Good. It didn't happen. The whole attack that they thought was going to happen, it didn't happen. It was foiled. Good. So now we know who, what, where, historical figures, and it happened in the past. Now, we have one more thing to talk about, and I want to introduce a new standard to you. So we're going to look at RL 3.9. Compare and contrast stories in the same genre on their approach to similar themes and topics. So what we're going to do is we are going to compare and contrast stories in the same genre. So what do you think genre is? Good. So fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction, science fiction, those type of things are different genres on their approach to similar themes and topics. So similar themes and topics. Okay? So this week we read 2 stories. We read Dangerous Crossings and we have read Lydia's Journey. So what genre are both of these? I'll give you a hint. It's behind me. Right, it's historical fiction. So we are going to look at both of these texts and compare and contrast them. So what was the same in both? What was different in both? So what was something that was the same in both of them? Good. The British soldiers. So the British soldiers are the same in both of them. What was something different? Good, the settings. The settings were different. In Dangerous Crossings, the setting was the sea from Massachusetts to France. And in Lydia's Journey, it was Philadelphia. So the settings were different, so comparing and contrasting. So when you look at your Canvas course, you'll see these questions, okay? So I'm going to review them with you a little bit, especially this chart down here, because that can be kind of confusing. So, how is John Adams in Dangerous Crossing similar to Lydia Dara and Lydia's Journey? So how are they the same? They both traveled far to get another country to help their cause. They both sent letters to ask for help for their cause during the American Revolution. Neither trusted the Americans to get the British out of Philadelphia. They both did something dangerous in order to help the American cause during the Revolution. So I'm not going to give you the answer, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to get up and move. So, if you think it's A, they both traveled far to get another country to help their cause, I want you to take one step toward your TV. If you think it's B, they both sent letters to ask for help for their cause during the American Revolution, I want you to take one step back. If you think it's C, neither trusted the Americans to get the British out of Philadelphia, I want you to take one step to the right. And if you think it's D, they both did something dangerous in order to help the American cause during the Revolution, I want you to take one step to the left. So I'm not going to tell you what the answer is because you have to answer it on your own in your CFU this week, but I want you to think about that. How are John and Lydia the same? Okay, now here's what I really want to look at with you guys. I'm going to fold it so you can see it a little better. Okay. It says, you guys see that? It says, fill in the bubbles to show whether each option describes a setting of Dangerous Crossing, pages 326 to 333, Lydia's Journey, or both. So they're talking about the setting. So, Philadelphia, 1777. Was that in Dangerous Crossings? Was that in Lydia's Journey? Or is that in both? So you have to decide and click on what you think it is. During the Revolutionary War, was that in Dangerous Crossings? Was that in Lydia's Journey? Or was that in both? You need to click what you think it is. It was snowing and the wind was blowing. So which story or stories had snow and blowing? Did the Dangerous Crossing, Lydia's Journey, or both? And the last one, a tiny, smelly cabin. So where was a tiny, smelly cabin? Was it in Dangerous Crossings, Lydia's Journey, or both? So you have to click on it. So that's it for today, guys. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.